What is up, everyone? Welcome to the FAA podcast. Pretty short show today. We got absolutely no news except for a trade. That's going to be the majority. The news that we talk about, because we're not talking about the Cincinnati Reds. That is something we are not talking about. Because
who likes the Cincinnati Reds anyway?
we should just eliminate the city of Cincinnati altogether. I'd be okay with that. Yeah. So we'll just talk the one news note first here. Transfer portal, college football, big time news in the Big 12. BYU quarterback Jake Retzlaff is in the transfer portal. A rape allegation that has since been dismissed. So it was kind of weird timing. I thought he transfers and then it's dismissed almost immediately, with prejudice, by the way, for all those that do not know legal terms. That means it cannot be appealed to the decision of the trial court, essentially. Yeah, so big time quarterback on the market. We'll see if he goes anywhere, for one. But for two, BYU's in a big time bind now. He came on as a starter last year and was expected to be the starter this year. So that's why my guy Shane Trail, with the Hall of Fame Fund on Twitter, has put out a future under 7.5 wins for the Cougars this year, which I'm okay with. My goodness, Jimmy, they put in another pitcher already. Yeah.
I'm just paying attention to NBA free agency right now because that just started like an hour ago. Guys are signed, and then tomorrow NHL free agency starts. So really busy couple days in the sports world.
Yeah, I know. This was the wrong thing here. Give me a sec. I know I was disappointed with the Penguins so far. Not keeping my boy Phil.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, disappointed in that one. I'll go back to Milwaukee.
I wonder what Dubas is planning to do. I heard Elliot Freeman, who's like the biggest NHL insider, he came out with a tweet a couple weeks ago. He said, essentially every NHL team not named the Pittsburgh Penguins intends to get better next year.
Yeah. I did enjoy Dubas's comments on Malkin. I agree with the plan for the Geno contract. Anyways, okay, now we got the right PowerPoint up. Big time trade today between the Miami Dolphins and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Two teams we talked about on Friday. Minka Fitzpatrick, safety, and a 2027 fifth rounder going to Miami for corner Jalen Ramsey, at tight end Jonnu Smith, and 2027 seventh rounder. Numbers on a couple of the guys' deals here. The Dolphins had already paid about $7 million of Ramsey's deal, or they paid $4 million, and then they're going to pay another $3 million. I think it was what it was. And then, so Pittsburgh's on the hook for $19.6 million this year for Jalen Ramsey. They also, as a part of this deal, extended tight end Jonnu Smith for 1 year, $12 million. And for the Dolphins, they get Minka Fitzpatrick, non-guaranteed deal. He's $15.5 million this year. And I gotta say, it was a roller coaster. Jimmy was like, oh my gosh, we got Jalen Ramsey. And they were like, what the hell? We gave up Minka straight up. Like, what the hell is that? And then it made more sense when they said, oh, yeah, Jonnu's going too. But then it's like, again, what the hell? We moved down 2 rounds. Like, this deal does not make sense to me. It made sense without the draft picks a little bit. You're still getting 2 players for one that you have to pay more money for and are older. They're both older than Minka is. And you moved down 2 rounds. It didn't make sense. I agreed with, I forget who wrote the article on ESPN today, the grading of this trade. It made total sense on what he was saying is, the taking on of the contract of most of Ramsey's contract should have gained a Pittsburgh value, not lost them value like it looks like it did.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get this on Pittsburgh's behalf. You get older, you get more expensive, and I'll be honest, I don't really think you get that much better. I mean, I like Ramsey, but I mean, he's taken a step back the last couple of years in terms of skill set, and he, in my opinion, has become, based on his contract, a little overpaid. And then you have Jonnu Smith. I get it. Arthur Smith, Jonnu Smith, like that's his guy. That's his boy. That was his guy back in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
But I really love Minka Fitzpatrick. He's one of my favorite safeties in the NFL right now. Even if he took a step back this last year, maybe Pittsburgh doesn't see him long term. Giving him up for, in my opinion, sure, more value position in terms of corner compared to safety, but I don't think Jalen Ramsey, is on the same plane as he was when he was in Jacksonville or when he was in LA. And Jonnu Smith, he's a tight end too, really. Giving up better draft capital, I think this just doesn't make sense to me. I think what I said in the group chat earlier made a ton of sense. I said this just feels like the Steelers are on a last dance trajectory with their roster makeup. You got older players like Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Rodgers, and it's just like, are they giving like Mike Tomlin a last chance kind of thing? We're like, hey, we're pushing our chips to the table, and then after this, we might be moving on with a new coach. Maybe I'm trying to wrap my head around it, and I can't. It doesn't make sense to the Steelers to give up, in my opinion, not only the best player in this trade, but also the better draft pick.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see which 5th rounder that is. They got a 27-5 from Seattle in the DK Metcalf trade. It's probably going to be the worst of the two, I would think, would be the condition of that pick. But it really doesn't matter. Yeah, and another thing with this trade that doesn't really make sense either is that, I'll go back to the ESPN article, they might have traded for Jalen Ramsey to play nickel, not outside, which would be interesting. And they also, at this trade, take a hit to the safety. That moves Juan Thornhill into a starting role. He did start 11 games for the Browns last year. But I don't like putting Ramsey in the nickel. I would keep him outside opposite of Joey Porter. I love Beanie Bishop Beanie Bishop was a steal as an undrafted guy last year, and he played very well in his limited snaps. So I would keep Beanie Bishop in the slot and bench Slay and put Ramsey outside. That bolsters your depth at corner, I think, with the guys that they have. Beanie Bishop, I don't know why they have James Pierre as an outside. I think he's a nickel. They have Dante Kent, 7th rounder at nickel as well. Brandon Eccles, he was one of their big time free agents, one of the bigger ones that they signed. I don't know why he's listed as 3rd string right now. I thought he would be starter or primary backup, but anyways, that's besides the point. But yeah, Johnny was going to be a move tight end. He is going to fill in the relative lack of options outside of DK. He's literally going to be number 2. I mean, I don't see a career resurgence coming from Robert Woods. The hope is that Roman Wilson turns into something after an injury-plagued year as a 3rd rounder last year. Calvin Austin's your deep guy as a 22 4th. And, I like Ben Skoranek, but he's never been a full-time player. Scotty Miller, he just is still there. And he seems to make one big play a year. But, yeah, they're going to rely on 12 personnel most of the time. They're going to run the hell out of the ball with Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson and use the play action for Aaron. But yeah, the Dolphins, on the other hand, I know it was a good trade for them in terms of value-wise and what they got. But they're in, dire straits. I am now believing that this team is going to regress very badly. There are no options at tight end now. Pharaoh Brown is your starting tight end. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I think this is a we'll give Tua one more year grace period, but we needed to move money. We need to go younger. And if, Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa just don't show up this coming year and do more of less, then we just got to keep shedding and just move on to the next, chance. Because let's be completely honest. I know you're a Tua guy. I'm not. So I'm not going to try to I'm going to try not to be too mean, but we've seen the Tua McDaniels Dolphins peak already? I don't know. I don't really think this team has the talent to go over the top. Ramsey's over the hill and traded. I like getting Fitzpatrick. I think he should be kind of the centerpiece of the defense for a little bit. But Tyreek's older. His game is predicated on speed, and when you get older, your speed goes away. Really, the only guys I can really think of to keep that are ready contributors are Jalen Waddle. And other than that, that's about it.
Yeah, it's going to be heavy Hill and Waddle this year. They don't have anything else, really.
They really don't.
They have Malik Washington slotted in as the number 3 right now, 24 6th rounder. I would expect Nick Westbrook-Ikhine becomes that 3rd guy. They signed him in the offseason from Tennessee. They have a ton, and I mean a ton, of undrafted guys. I would not be shocked if 1 or 2 made the team. Andrew Armstrong out of Arkansas, Theo Weiss out of Missouri, A.J. Henning at Northwestern. So, yeah, I would not be shocked if some of those guys made it. But, yeah, and then, we've been talking about it all offseason. The Dolphins' corner room is not good. You're You're starting Storm, Duck, Kader Kohu, and Artie Burns. That's your 3.
Are we talking
the hope is that
Artie Burns?
Yes. The hope is that 23 second rounder Cam Smith takes a step in year 3 here. You got 25 fifth rounder Jason Marshall, and then guys they signed in the offseason as well, Kendall Sheffield and Ryan Cooper. Undrafted 23 Ethan Bonner. He's actually played pretty well when he's had his name called. But yeah, it's not good in the secondary, and I don't know where the offense. I mean, they're going to run the ball. They should run the ball. I think that's what they should do.
Honestly.
And what would be interesting if they run the ball is their top 2 backs are speedsters, Devon Achane and Jalen Wright. And then they have some pounders in Alexander Madison and Ollie Gordon. So it'll be interesting to see how McDaniel formulates this offense this year, because I think they're going to have to run. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to run. I mean, you would think that they would run 11 personnel more than likely because of the lack of tight end production, but they also have guys that should be able to block well at tight end in Brown, Julian Hill. Tanner Connor is okay. He's a converted wide receiver. Jalen Conyers is more of a move tight end, is undrafted this year. So I don't know. Maybe they should just go maybe they should go 20 personnel. Just have Alec Ingold on the field all most of the game, or they can put Achane and Wright on the field and just run 2 backs, 3 wide receivers the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Shit, why not? This team's not going anywhere anyway. Might as well just be interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely think Dolphins won the trade for sure. Unfortunately, but we will see. As always, time will tell. All right, let's get into the Colts. We're talking a lot of horses today. Colts, Broncos, offseason here. Losses for Indy. Quarterback Joe Flacco went to the Browns. Sam Ellinger went to the Broncos. Running back Trey Sermon to the Steelers. Tight end Kylan Granson to the Eagles. Guard Mark Lewinsky is a free agent. Guard Will Fries and center Ryan Kelly going to Jimmy's Vikings. Defensive tackle Raekwon Davis. Defensive tackle Taven Bryan, both free agents. Edge Deo Odeingbo, it went to the Bears. Linebacker EJ Speed to the Texans. Linebacker Grant Stewart to the Lions. Corner Trey Flowers. Safety Julian Blackman. Safety Ronnie Harrison, all free agents. And kicker Matt Gay to the Commanders. I don't think they lost a ton. The lineman obviously was the big one. But other than that, I don't see a lot of hurt there for Indy.
Yeah, it's pretty. I think the big losses obviously are on that offensive line. Fries and Kelly, I mean, I think are some of the best interior offensive linemen in the game. Not that I'm biased or anything.
Well, they did already do a good job of replacing them. Tanner Bortolini is a second-year fourth rounder. Matt Goncalves is a second-year third rounder.
They did. I think Ballard has always had this belief that once a guy gets into that point where he wants that big contract, I'll replace him with that second or third round pick at the same position. So totally fine. Will they be as good as Kelly and Fries? I know there's some health issue in concerns with both those guys. I don't know. Other than that, really, I don't see a loss they didn't replace. Like, I mean, sure they lost Trey Flowers, but like Javarius Ward's far better. They lose Blackman and Harrison, but Cam Bynum, in my opinion, far better. Um, I think they did a good job, like losing Trey Sermon, you know, but bringing Khalil Herbert, my opinion, far better. I think the only like place where I could say genuinely they got worse is probably quarterback. I mean, I don't like Daniel Jones. I think hanging on to Joe Flacco would have been better. I'm sure Jones is younger, but Flacco, I think, is more consistent and has had a track record of just better play. But other than that, it makes sense.
Yeah, signings. QB Jason Bean re-signed. QB Daniel Jones from the Vikings. Running back Tyler Goodson re-signed. They got running back Khalil Herbert from the Bengals. Wide receiver Ashton Doolin. Tight end Mo Alley Cox. Off the tackle Braden Smith. Guard Danny Pinter. All re-signed. Defense tackle Neville Gallimore from the Rams. Corner David Long re-signed. Corner Tavarius Ward from the Niners. Corner Corey Ballantyne from the Packers. Safety Cam Bynum from the Vikings, and kicker Spencer Schrader from the Chiefs. I think the kicker thing is going to be a big deal. I think that Matt Gay is a phenomenal kicker, and I have no clue why they released him. Spencer Schrader, I do not think is close, although he did play decent in Kansas City and has before. I believe he kicked for the Colts before as well. So I think they have some familiarity. But yeah, I think the Matt Gay loss and replaced with Spencer Schrader, I don't think that's going to work out how the Colts think it will, even though he's much cheaper, I assume. But yeah, the big time additions were definitely the secondary, getting the the two corners and a safety. They really didn't do much else in free agency.
Mm-hmm. And I think they don't want to do much else in free agency until they figure out Anthony Richardson. Like they want to add, and they want Richardson to be the franchise quarterback, but you have to wait until AR-15. Well, actually, he's not 15; he's 5. AR-5 plays like a franchise quarterback, not just is a former first-round pick that you know has not been healthy for the entire time he's been in the NFL, and when he was, highly inaccurate at best.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. All right, let's go to the draft here. First round tight end Tyler Warren, Penn State, 14th. Second round edge rusher JT Tuimoloau, Ohio State, 45th. Third round corner Justin Wally, Minnesota, 80th. Fourth round offensive tackle Jalen Travis, Iowa State, 127th. Fifth, running back DJ Giddens, Kansas State, 151st. Sixth round, 2 picks, quarterback Riley Leonard, Notre Dame, 189th. Defensive tackle Tim Smith, Alabama, 190th. And seventh, safety Hunter Wohler, Wisconsin, 132nd. Colts draft was interesting. They only filled 2 of my top 5 needs. They filled the last 3 of my 8 that I had. Tyler Warren, of course, stud. They needed. That was the biggest position that they needed by far. It was kind of like the Raiders and running back. Like it was severe need. And the fact that they got Warren versus Loveland, I liked Warren better. That's just me. Really like the player in Tuimoloau. Again, I didn't have that until I didn't have edge until 6th or 7th, actually. Wally was pretty solid at Minnesota. I was surprised that he went that early, though. Travis, I thought that was spot on his value in the 4th. I wasn't the biggest fan of Giddens. He kind of reminded me about him and a guy we'll talk about with the Broncos, RJ Harvey, reminded me of each other. I didn't really like either. I really like Riley Leonard. I mean, he's a baller. He's limited throwing wise in terms of arm strength and accuracy, but he can run the dang ball. Don't know a ton about Tim Smith. Was a backup, I believe, most of the time at Alabama, but still a talented player. And I really love the Hunter Wohler selection. Very solid safety for the Badgers. But again, tight end was my first need. Safety was my 4th need. They didn't. That was the only 2 of my top 5 they filled. I had kicker as my 2nd need. That was because they released Matt Gay before the draft. So kicker shot up to my 2nd need, and they did not draft one. Linebacker, I thought was also a need. When you look at what they have at linebacker, yeah, I mean, they don't have. I mean, Jalen Carlisle is starting besides Zaire Franklin, who's a beast. But Carlisle's 2nd-year player, converted safety from Missouri in the 5th round last year. Cool. But then they have Segun Olubi and Cameron McGrone. Sure. Joe Bocci, Jacob Phillips after that. I think, I mean, if Zaire Franklin misses any time, I mean, they're screwed at linebacker. And then the other top 5 need that wasn't filled for me, wide receiver. I'm just getting tired of these guys that the Colts have, really. I mean, Pittman's a stud, obviously. Pierce, the 22 second. Josh Downs, the 23 third. Mitchell didn't do much last year as a rookie 2nd rounder. Doolin has been okay. They re-signed him. Gold as a 5th rounder last year. I thought he was more of a special teams returner anyways, which is where they have him. And then they have your guy Laquan Treadwell is on the Colts. And DJ Montgomery is a converted running back. So, yeah, I don't know. It's fatigue for me at the wide receiver position for the Indianapolis Colts, but that was the other top 5 need that did not get filled. And again, I think the kicker is whatever it is, but the linebacker thing not getting filled was a big issue for me. And I thought maybe the Justin Wally selection could have turned into a linebacker instead of a corner.
Yeah. I didn't love this draft. Honestly, outside the first 2 picks, I didn't really love much of it. I love Warren, don't get me wrong, and JT Tuimaulau. I always mess up his name every time I watch. Great edge rusher. Should really revitalize that edge position of the Colts, but Wheelie's fine. Travis is okay. Never can go wrong with depth in the trenches. Same with Tim Smith in the 6th, but I know Taylor's kind of getting long in the tooth, but did you need to go running back in the 5th? Did you need another quarterback in the 6th? You signed Cam Bynum long term. Do you need a safety in the 7th? I felt like at multiple times in this draft, I agree with you. They could have gone, wide receiver or linebacker. Maybe not as much wide receiver. I still very much believe in a guy like Adonai Mitchell. I think he can really take a step up this year. So I think they wanted to give him more like space to roam. So I can kind of justify the decision not to go for a wide receiver. But linebacker, I'll be honest, I really didn't understand. And it's not like they were in a situation where in rounds like 3, 4, 5, or 7, there weren't, linebackers available. Like, I'm going to just quickly pull up the draft and just kind of see, like, they took Wally at 80, and then you just look down and, they had, who else was available? Sorry, I'm just kind of scrolling through. I knew there was some. There was one Jack Kaiser from Notre Dame, Stutzman from, Oklahoma. He got drafted in the 4th round. Barrett Carter from Clemson. A couple more edge rushers. I think Jack Sawyer could be a guy that you can make into a linebacker. He has that skill set. It didn't make a ton of sense to me. I thought they made strange choices in those rounds. Oh, Shamar James from Florida in the 5th round again. Jeffrey Bassa, Oregon, 5th round again. I mean, these are Colin Oliver, Oklahoma State, 5th round again. Look at the running linebackers in the 5th round. Mondon Jr. There was a ton that Chris Paul Jr. I mean, there was a ton they could really have picked from in the 4th or 5th round. The decision not to pull the trigger on a linebacker in that position, I didn't get it. That being said, I don't hate this draft. I don't even dislike the players they drafted, but I'm more in the same boat you are. It's just you ignored a defensive need for, a backup running back and a 3rd-string quarterback. I could get my grade. I think first 2 rounds really carried this draft. They drafted a ton of C players, but with the first 2 picks, it's to me, Tyler Warren's an A. JT is a B. So I'm going to give this a C plus. You started strong with an A. JT was a B, and then everyone else from there was a C. A C all the way down from rounds 3 through 7. So I'll give him a C plus.
Yep, that's exactly where I'm at. I was thinking C, but like you said, with the top 2 picks, bumps it up a letter there and goes to a C plus. So I agree with everything. It's like the 40. It's like guy runs the same time 2 times and it's like, oh, he's a 4-4 guy. Colts are C plus draft team. The schedule here: home against the Dolphins, home against the Broncos, at the Titans, at the Rams, home against the Raiders and the Cards, at the Chargers, home against the Titans, at the Steelers, home against the Falcons in Berlin, week 11 bye. At the Chiefs, home against the Texans, at the Jags, at the Seahawks, home against the Niners, Monday Night Football, home against the Jags, at the Texans. I think for the Colts, it's a very doable schedule. The back half is harder, a lot harder, but this team, obviously, we don't know what the quarterback's going to turn out, but with average to above average quarterback play, I think this team should be able to stay in the conversation by the end of the year in the 7 to 9 win range, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I agree. I think this team needs to keep its head above water by the bye week, and there's no reason they can't be. I mean, Dolphins, I think they're hard to read. I think they might be in a teardown mode. Broncos, you don't really know with sophomore Bo Nix. Titans are bad. Rams are better, but still in that, we have a very old quarterback and defense has gotten worse, but still younger. Raiders are still bad. Cardinals are up in the air. Chargers are also up in the air. Titans, again, still bad. Steelers up in the air. Falcons up in the air. This team should realistically be at least 5-5 going into that bye week. Mm-hmm. If they're lower than 4-6, there's there's serious questions about how the team is built, because there's no excuse not to like beat the Titans twice, beat up the Raiders at home, put up competitive games against the Falcons and the Dolphins and the Broncos at home, or in Week 10's case, Berlin. But end of the season, that's tough. They don't get it. They don't get a reprieve the final 6 weeks. Like they could be 5-5 going into that bye and then finish the season like 6-11.
The Jags could be potentially.
Jags could be.
And the Seahawks, you never know with Darnold.
You never know, but historically, Colts cannot play in Jacksonville. They freaking suck in Jacksonville. It's like a curse to them.
Yeah, but they got them twice. So.
They do got them twice. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be high on this team. I think this team. I still don't believe in Anthony Richardson at all. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not that he's like it's not that he just like makes young QB mistakes. It's that he just makes bad mistakes. Like at times he's just not an NFL quarterback. I think this team probably ends the season with double-digit losses.
Yeah, well, we'll get our full AFC South breakdown, including an actual records predictions for us in 11 days. The Friday show next week will be our beginning of our season previews for the divisions, and it's gonna be AFC South to start it. But yeah, and unfortunately, with this is a big season for Coach Steichen as well. I think that he might be gone after this year, especially new owners, right? They're not tied to him. The Irsay sisters are not tied, to Coach Steichen. They did not hire him. So I think that's a big factor. New ownership. It's going to be kind of all new going into 2026, I think.
And I think that also goes for Ballard, too.
What?
I said, I think that also goes for Ballard, too. Like, this could be Ballard's last year. I mean, in my opinion, good riddance. Ballard has not won a division crown in the worst division in the NFL since he got hired almost a decade ago. Like, I think it's about time. But I rest my case.
All right, to the Broncos, the upstart Broncos, should say, made the playoffs last year. Not many people expected it. Bo knows, though, so it worked out pretty well. This team, just like the Colts, not a ton of movement in the offseason. Losses, only a few. QB Zach Wilson went to the Dolphins. Running back Javonte Williams to the Cowboys. Wide receiver Lil Jordan Humphrey to the Giants. Linebacker Cody Barton to the Titans. Linebacker Zach Cunningham to the Lions. Punter Riley Dixon to the Bucks, and that's it. Cody Barton, that's the one. Like, he's the big one. Big time loss in the middle of the defense, but I was just talk about they got the guy to replace him already. So
yeah, in my opinion, they lost nothing. Like, nothing of value was lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Signings, they re-signed QB Jarrett Stidham to be the number one backup for Knicks. QB Sam Ehlinger comes over from the Colts. Running back J.K. Dobbins from the Chargers. Fullback Michael Burton re-signed. Wide receiver Trent Sherfield from the Vikings. Tight end Evan Ingram from the Jags. Offensive tackle Matt Peart from the re-signed, as did defensive tackle DJ Jones. Edge rusher DeAndre Tillman. They got linebacker Dre Greenlaw from the Niners. Re-signed corner Jaquan McMillian. And they signed safety Talanoa Hufanga from San Fran as well. Big-time additions in Hufanga and Greenlaw. Both have injury concerns, however. Greenlaw already popped up on the injury, earlier in the offseason with a quad injury. Going to be okay, though, it seems, by training camp. And obviously, offensively, the big additions of Dobbins and Ingram trying to put weapons around Knicks in year 2.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only thing they might have missed out on, and this kind of also goes with the draft as well, I think they might have missed out on getting a like more skilled wide receiver. I like Sherfield, but he's depth at best. And I like Evan Ingram as like a catching tight end. But I thought they could have maybe gone bolder with a wide receiver in free agency. But I love the rest of them. So this defense, especially with what they did in the draft, this defense is insane. Like I really think this is one of the best defensive units the NFL has to offer. Or, adding to the defense, who already has the defensive player of the year in Pat Surtain, with Greenlaw, Hufanga, and who they, you don't like that. I get it, you don't like that, but
No, yes.
he still has the award, whether you like it or not. So he gets to be called Defensive Player of the Year, Pat Surtain. But adding Greenlaw, Hufanga, and then who we're going to talk about when we talk about the draft, I mean, this team defensively could really look like a shutdown. I'm talking like 2000 Baltimore Ravens, 85 Bears, kind of just dominance all over the field.
Wow, the Vance Joseph is still in Denver.
With Vance Joseph.
Still not over it, Jimmy. TJ should have won. And if TJ shouldn't have won, Myles Garrett should have won. Just saying. Anyways, yeah. I mean, the defense. I really like Hufanga. Came out of kind of nowhere. Dobbins, I love the resurgence. Absolutely love it. He's gonna pair well with Harvey in a solid backfield, and they needed safety. So Hufanga slides in there, and like I said, Greenlaw is a 1-for-1 with Barton. Just hope that he is 100% healthy, and yeah, Ingram, great safety blanket for Knicks there. But I agree with the wide receiver thing. Yeah, we'll talk about it more right now. First round, shocker to me. Corner Jahdae Barron, Texas, 20th overall. Running back RJ Harvey, UCF, second round, 60th. 2 third-rounders, wide receiver Pat Bryant, Illinois, 74th. Edge rusher Sabian Jones, LSU, 101st. Fourth-round edge Q Robinson, Alabama, 134th. No fifth. Sixth-round punter Jeremy Crawshaw, Florida, 216th. Seventh-round tight end Caleb Lawner, Utah, 241st. Kind of like the Colts, I did not like this draft in terms of my needs that I had. Again, I'm not a big fan of Harvey. Just like I'm not a big fan of Giddens. That was my number one need, was running backs. They filled it. Just not with a player that I'm very high on. Wide receiver, kind of the same thing. Pat Bryant filled it a lot earlier than I thought he was going to go. It made sense in terms of body type. He's a big guy, 6'4", I believe. 6'2", 204, but still decent size there in terms of wide receivers. But I don't know. We'll see how he develops. I had issues with his I don't remember what his 40 time was, but I don't think he's very fast. He's more of a jump ball 50-50 kind of guy in my mind. Savion Jones, they actually have him inside in their 3-4 defense, backing up Zach Allen at the 3 tech. Kind of like Tim Smith with the Colts, another Alabama defender that I'm not very much aware of, and Q Robinson. Might be my favorite player that the Broncos drafted, Jeremy Crawshaw. Okay, he's a Florida Gator, hate Florida, but I watched this man boom balls at the Senior Bowl the only day that they allowed him to actually hit the ball. And it was, like I said, booming bombs all day from Crawshaw. So I think he's going to be an absolute stud field position game for the Broncos. And Lawner, he doesn't have a chance to make the team. That's a wasted draft pick right there.
Yeah, I mean, I like Barron. I was kind of surprised. I thought they would go first round wide receiver. I think everyone kind of assumed when we got to that pick that a guy like Matthew Golden would be picked up. But I love Jahdae Barron. I think when you're in a situation where you can have two top flight corners to really complement the defense for a steady amount of time, I think you go for it. I don't hate RJ Harvey. I think he's fine. I think maybe you could have gotten better at the position than Harvey. I mean, I'm just kind of just looking around, seeing who else in terms of the running back position was drafted after him. I mean, Caleb Johnson was drafted after him. I love Caleb Johnson. I'm really surprised that I would not, if I was in charge, I would not pick Harvey over Johnson. And then the same goes for Pat Bryant. I saw him a decent amount of time when he was at Ohio, why am I blanking on Illinois? Sorry. And I was genuinely not really impressed with him. If there's a situation where I'm just looking at other draft wide receivers after him. So he's 6'2", 204. If you're looking for size around that area, I mean, I thought Savion Williams, who's 6'4", 222, would fit that role. If you want to keep a wide receiver, over 6 foot, there's Ty Felton, end of the third. If there's DK 6'1". Who else was out there? Sorry, I had a name off the top of my head and I lost it real quick. Who was it? Oh, Alec Aomena. I thought all those guys made way more sense than Pat Bryant in terms of just skill and skill set. And then other running backs taken after our, Harvey, there's Cam Scattaboo, beginning of the third. He could work in Denver. I don't know. I didn't love rounds 2 and 3. I like Savion Jones. I was kind of interested in how they doubled up at edge, 33 picks apart with how good that defense is. This just seems like more rotational guys. Crawshaw, I'm never a huge fan of drafting a punter or kicker. I know the Vikings have done it. I'm always just a little nervous about it, but I don't hate it. And then, like you mentioned, Caleb Lohner, it's probably not going to crack the roster, so I'm not going to go into too much detail.
Yeah, like I said, Jones, they actually have interior. Robinson, I don't think he's going to make the team based off what they had, depending on how many edges they keep. Because they have Jonathan Cooper and Nick Benito, Jonah Ellis, Dondre Tillman, and then Q Robinson. And to be honest, they have a guy that I really like undrafted as well that will be competing, Johnny Walker from Missouri. Pretty good edge setter, run stopper. So yeah, the Broncos, they only filled how many of my needs here? They did fill 3 of my top 4. I had 6. I don't really count the 5th and 6th ones though. OT depth, interior line depth. They did not go. I guess technically they did fill them. They did fill all of my top 4 because they have Jones inside, so that would fill my interior D line need of my third there. But running back, wide receiver, interior D line, tight end. They technically filled all those. Wasn't impressed with the players they got at running back and wide receiver. Nor was I impressed with Jones that much, but I'll not factor him in. And tight end is not a factor at all. The reason why I had tight end there is because I thought they should have gotten a much better depth option and a guy potentially for the future. I'm not sold on Troutman and Adkins and Krul as the next 3 behind Ingram. I know Peyton likes Troutman. He drafted him. but I don't like him. So for Denver, I'm going to go with a C.
Yeah, I'm going to go C minus, actually. I love Barron. I don't see Robinson or Lohner making the roster. I thought there were better wide receiver and running backs available that they passed up on. I think Savion Jones is okay, and I don't love, but I'm okay with Croshaw at third. I mean, in the 6th round. It's a philosophy thing for me. I'm not a huge fan of going special teams in the draft, even in the 6th or 7th. I'm just giving him C minus. I love Barron, but I think kind of like Warren and JT with the Colts, he does the heavy lifting for this draft class for the Broncos.
Yeah, and really, I should have went lower because I did not have corner as secondary in my needs. So they got lucky that I put a C on them. But I agree. I do like Barron, though, for sure. All right, schedule here for the Broncos. Home against Titans, at the Colts, at the Chargers, home against the Bengals Monday night, at the Eagles, at the Jets in London, home against the Giants, home against the Cowboys, at the Texans, home against the Raiders Thursday night, home against the Chiefs, Week 12 bye, real late there, at the Commanders Sunday night, at the Raiders, home against the Packers, home against the Jags, at the Chiefs on Christmas, home against the Chargers. My goodness, this Broncos schedule much different than the Colts. Very, very difficult. I think that early stretch, Chargers, Bengals, Eagles, Jets in London, that's one. And then after the bye, it does not get easier either. Commanders, Packers, Chiefs on Christmas. They got the Chargers again. Those are the two stretches that I'm looking at that'll make this season for Denver.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough schedule once I think they have to start 2-0 because after that it really does open up to some difficulty. I don't think they face anyone that they can't beat, but I don't think they really get a ton of breaks in the schedule. Like weeks 3 through 5, it's Chargers, Bengals, Eagles, and then they go across the pond, take on the Jets, and then come back from the pond and don't have their bye week, which a lot of teams usually do. Although it is the Giants, they are a bad team, so probably an easy win there. But then you got the Cowboys, go to the Texans, and that could be tough back-to-back. Raiders, I think they're pushovers. But then you got the Chiefs at home, bye week, and then Commanders, Raiders on the road, Packers on the road in late in the season against the Jaguars at home, Chiefs on Christmas, and then Chargers. I always do believe in sophomore slumps as well for quarterbacks. I think Bo Nix is going to, teams have more film on Bo Nix. He's going to have to innovate if he wants to have a good year. That being said, I think this team should, especially with how good that defense is, this team should be a wild card team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they max. I think they max out at 10 wins. I don't think they go into 11, 12 territory. I don't think they're going to they're not going to steal the division. But this team should be in the playoffs if at the very least Sean Payton reins in Bo Nix's sophomore slump and that defense is as it seems to be advertised.
Yeah, I do like also just one last thing. The mini bye they get before the Chiefs, the first Chiefs game, playing the Raiders on Thursday. Then they get a little bit of a reprieve going, staying home, hosting the Chiefs. Then they get a full bye there afterwards. So I think that's going to be a nice kind of stretch where the players get a lot of rest on a decently veteran team. All right, next week, training camp week 2, and we're calling it training camp because even though today is June 30th, we are going into July, and I'm calling every show from here on out training camp till we get to the preseason in August, and Hall of Fame game in late July. But next week, our second to last, our last off-season recap. We're doing Cards Bucks on Friday. Might just be me if Jimmy's gallivanting for July 4th. I will be probably doing the show sometime. Bengals Seahawks, though, next Monday. We'll see if we can get our guy John on to talk about his Seahawks or not. But don't forget to follow us all our social media at FAA Podcast, Instagram next, FAA_Betzlanext. FAApodcast.com is our website. Check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, X, and Instagram, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and we will see y'all back potentially on Friday. I will be here. Who knows who else will be. Happy 4th of July, everyone, and we'll see you then.